Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Beach Boys album ranking video. Number 11 today, so we're one away from the top 10, super close to the final stretch. Last video we checked out on Holland from 1973. For a lot of people, that was way too low, at least for what they thought of my ranking of it. You know, a lot of people had that one in their top 10, top 5. A lot of people even had that in their top 3 and their favorite, you know. It's a very divisive album. A lot of people either love it super much or think it's overrated. I love it. I just personally think they have better, and the whole sound of it, I just prefer their more poppy sound compared to the more, you know, rootsy rock sound of that one. So if you watch that review and you're like, why the fuck is that album so low? Or if you just saw it on the placement at number 12 and you're like, why is that not top 10? That's why. Great album. I love it. But I hope you guys enjoyed that review. Anyway, completely different era, completely different group of Beach Boys, basically. I mean, it was the same band, obviously, but a completely different era for the band, for the album that we're looking at today, and it was a completely, almost, you know, it's the same band, but it seems like almost a different group just because of how much they changed in the time between this album and Holland. So, you know, before I get into the album, I'm just gonna say, first of all, that to me, this one basically marks the peak of the early Beach Boys in terms of their popularity, their sound, not like how musically good they would get, because they would progress after this, obviously, but you know, when you think of the Beach Boys, when you think of that, you know, summer band, the early summer fun band, this album to me is, in my opinion, the epitome of all of that. And it was really the last time, you know, they were known as that before they started doing different things. So without any further ado, without just rambling on about a bunch of random shit, the album in question is from 1965, July 5th, 1965, I'm pretty sure. If that's wrong, I'm sorry. Anyway, from July 5th, 1965, the band's 9th studio album, Summer Days and Summer Nights. Now, this one is an absolute fucking classic. One of their most iconic album covers with some of their most iconic songs. You know, when I was first getting into them, this was definitely one of my favorites. After listening to more of their back catalog and just listening to each of their albums, you know, over and over and over, this one's fallen back a little bit because I've just found more stuff that I've preferred, but I still fucking love this one so much, and there's some things about this record that, in my opinion, the Beach Boys never topped, and I'll get to that. So, basically, the backstory behind this one, we kind of have to start with the Beach Boys today. So, that album was released in March of 65, so just a few months before this one, but the session started in late 64, and with that album, Brian and the rest of the group, mainly Brian, just wanted a more deep sound to a more deep sound and style to their music. They wanted to, you know, prove that they could be a serious band who writes not just about fun shit, but about, you know, sad stuff and deep stuff and important stuff, you know? Not saying everything else they were writing about isn't, you know, awesome, but they just wanted to change their style up and show that they could be taken more seriously. So that album was recorded in 64, 65, released in March, and it's one of their absolutely fucking best albums, absolute masterpiece, and I'll get to that in a while, but, it did not sell as well. Okay, this is kind of confusing. So basically, the story goes: Beach Boys today didn't sell up to expectations, and Capitol Records was like, "You guys, that one didn't really do that well." But that's not really true because, you know, from everything I've seen, it actually sold more than like a couple of the albums from that era. I think it sold. I don't think it sold more than this one, but I'm pretty sure. Maybe All Summer Long, Shutdown Volume 2, like, it sold more than, you know, sold more than a decent amount of the records at the time, so, and it charted at number 4 on the charts, which was the same thing as All Summer Long, so I don't know what Capitol is going on about. Anyway, basically the whole story goes that the Beach Boys today, though an amazing album, wasn't as commercially successful or viable as Capitol Records wanted, and apparently didn't do as well as they wanted it to, so they're basically like, hey Brian, so, you know, cool album, right? But you guys need to kind of go back to the surf stuff, you know, the summer stuff, because that's what people buy. So basically, for one last album, they went into the studio and took everything that they had worked on in terms of that summer sound and that summer image and put it all into one last record. And in my opinion, this was basically the last time they were ever, you know, this Beach Boys. In terms of the Beach Boys as people know them, this is the peak Beach Boys. You know, obviously Pet Sounds, Smile, the lo-fi shit, You know, I think it's better, and they feel like they musically peaked there. But in terms of the collective group, as an image and a driving force in popular music, this was their peak because they were still the biggest American band at this point at that time. This album charted at number 2, which was along with Surfin' USA, along with Surfin' USA from 2 years prior to this. This one also charted number 2, as did Surfin' USA, and is actually their highest charting studio album along with that one. So, you know, at the time when they made this album, they were on top still. They were still probably the second or third biggest band in the country behind Beatles, Rolling Stones, maybe. So, at this time, well, not even in the country, in the world, but at this time, you know, they were huge still. And looking at this album is really interesting and also kind of sad because it's kind of the last time they would really have that status. I mean, they have Beach Boys Party, but that one doesn't really count. So, from a new, completely new original studio album, this is kind of like the last early one, in a way. And it's also very different because it goes a step ahead of Beach Boys Today in terms of its production values and arrangements, but it actually goes down a step in terms of the lyrical themes and depth, I should say, not of the music, but of just like the overall vibe of it. So there's a lot of things really to say about this one, so I'll just get into it. So, you know, the sessions for this album, I'm pretty sure started in early 65, I think in March, right after Beach Boys Today. Maybe some songs were written before that, but the earliest it goes is like early as 65. So I guess I could just start with the album cover. Absolutely fucking iconic. Just the 4 guys. Yes, Al is not on it. He was sick, and there's something on the back that shows that. But I absolutely love this album cover. Before I even knew the band, this one, Pet Sounds, Smiley Smile, and Surfin' Safari, I think were the album covers I had seen just from being a music fan. Like those 4 albums. You know, I just seen those album covers around just because, you know, they're a huge band, and being into music, I had seen them, but this one in specific was one that I've always seen because it's just an iconic image, and I fucking love the font, the green. I love what they did with this one, you know, with the Beach Boys Today. You know, I can actually point to it right there. So if you notice for the Beach Boys Today, you know, you have the 2 brown bars with the text and a little image in the middle. Cool album cover, but it's definitely wasted space, and it definitely feels like they didn't really put any effort into it. This one, I mean, it's not like crazy, but it's a full image of the guys and a really cool shot. It fits the theme. The font's to the side. This is one of their best album covers just because it fits the band. You know, the Beach Boys. You think of the sea, you think of the sun, and you know, and this is just that. It's just a sunny day on a yacht on the beach, or in the ocean, not even on the beach. You know, Brian, Mike, Carl, Dennis. They're all young there. You know, the back cover. You have all the guys have a little statement. Al right here. He was sick he couldn't make it to the boat, so that's why he wasn't on it, which is stupid, but whatever. They would always advertise their other records, which I thought was pretty cool. And I don't know if this one comes with like an insert. This one has an insert actually. Pretty cool. You know, you could see the ad for Beach Boys Today on there. This is like one of those early Capitol things. There's also an ad for the Beatles 65, which is pretty cool. Anyway, this is a 65 mono. I'm pretty sure it's the first press somewhere. It's early, it's 65. Anyway, talking too fucking much. So, as I said, sessions started in early 65, and they basically put out, well, they didn't put anything before this album. I think they put Help Me Rhonda out as a single in April, which is on this album. We'll get to that. I'll get to the songs before I talk about how they were singles. But anyway, dude, I'm talking too fucking much. Anyway, so sessions early 65, they worked on a bunch of stuff, you know, they changed their image to be more commercially viable for Capitol, and they put this out on, I think, June 5th, as I said, and yeah, went to number 2 on the charts, and basically that's the history behind this album. So I'll just get into the songs real quick, because, you know, I think with this one I can get through it a little bit quicker, because it isn't as in-depth as some of their other records. So, for me, and for a lot of other people, this album runs like a greatest hits record. There's so many fucking amazing songs on here back to back, and man, it's so good. So, the album opens up with The Girl from New York City, written by Brian and Mike. Mike sings a lead, and I fucking love this song, man. The sax at the beginning, and just one thing I really love about this record is the sound. The production is a complete step up from today. You know, while I think today is a much better album, they were still, you know, working on the production. Not saying the production on today isn't good, because it obviously is, but, you know, there's still a lot more of that guitar, bass, drums sound on that record compared to this. This is like full Wrecking Crew, Wall of Sound, Phil Spector inspired stuff. And this is where Brian was really, really, really coming into his own as like a monster producer of the time. This is when he was like, you know, he had found his sound and found what he was doing. And this album, this sounds great. There's so much texture and depth to everything. And The Girl from New York City, there's so many different instruments with the layered vocal harmonies. And, you know, when compared to today, yes, it does sound less deep when you first listen to it because the lyrics are much more simple. You know, nothing on this album besides a few songs is really anything serious. You know, The Girl from New York City is just, you know, a girl from New York City. Nothing really special about that. But it doesn't really have to be deep lyrically if the song, the melody, and the arrangement is great. And it is. It's great to listen to. It's super catchy. It sticks in your head. This one just reminds me of Driving to the Beach. For some reason, you know, all these songs remind me of something related to, you know, summer, going outside, whatever. But Girl from New York City specifically just reminds me of Driving to the Beach. Something about that. It was actually a response to The Boy from New York City by some other group. I don't remember how the song went, but it was like a response to that song. Different melody and everything, but it was just Brian's kind of like, oh, they did something cool that charted. I'm going to do a similar idea. Great song, great opening. A lot of people don't really like it, which I don't understand, but I fucking love it. It's one of my, well, not one of my favorites, because there's a shit ton of great songs, but it's an underrated one for sure that people need to look into more. It's really short. So, Girl from New York City, great energetic opener. I love Mike's vocal. The chorus is just, I love it. Brian's falsetto sounds great. Next is a very interesting track, Amusement Parks USA. So this one, to me, is, okay, probably one of my least favorite tracks on the album, just because it's really weird, but at the same time, it's kind of innovative as fuck, because it's kind of sounds like a precursor to the whole psychedelia thing. It's, you know, just about, you know, going to amusement parks, roller coasters and shit. Nothing deep about it, as I said previously with The Girl from New York City. But production-wise, it sounds huge. There's the whole organ going on, playing the circus thing. On the bridge, Brian is doing some fucking crazy. Well, Brian does, not do's. I can't fucking talk. Brian does some like crazy laughing. The bridge is some announcer, you know, well, step right up to the Beach Boys circus, talking about a stuffed animal or playing like a party game or something. It's not their greatest song, but you know what? It's very interesting, and they don't really have many songs like it. The only other song I can really think of that sounds like it is County Fair from Surf and Safari, which I actually really like too. I think I like that one a little more just because the verse melody is better in my opinion. But Amusement Parks USA is cool. I really like the production. The actual verse chorus parts of it, or not even like the chorus, but like the melody parts of it where it's like an actual song, I really like. The whole bridge shit with the laughing is kind of weird, but you know what? It's unique. They never really did anything like it again. And it's entertaining. It's not boring. One thing I will always say about the Beach Boys, and I was thinking about this the other day. So, just an example. So, I'm listening to Pink Floyd right now. I'm getting through their discography, and amazing fucking band, obviously. But one thing I can say about them is that when they're bad, they're boring. You know, sure, maybe their bad stuff is more musically interesting than a lot of the Beach Boys' bad stuff, but the Pink Floyd's, you know, just for bands in general, what I could say about the Beach Boys, and one of the reasons why they're my favorite band, do they have a lot of, not just necessarily bad shit, but do they have a lot of, like, questionable stuff, and a lot of stuff that's, you know, obviously not as good as their peak stuff? Of course, like any band. But I find that with a lot of other bands, their bad stuff is just simply boring. With the Beach Boys, their bad stuff or just underperforming stuff, you know, like Amusement Parks USA, which I don't think it's a bad song. I just think it's an underperforming song. You know, sure, it's not as good as like their greatest works, but one thing I can always say about their stuff like that is that it's always catchy, it's never boring, and it's always fucking fun. It's always exciting, and it always sounds good. You know, no matter what, it always sounds good to the ear. You know, even on Summer in Paradise with that shitty ass production, the vocal harmonies are still amazing as always. So, and that's another thing, you know, Summer in Paradise, terrible fucking album, but it's entertaining, it's catchy, and it sounds good. So, that's one thing I'll give to the Beach Boys. That's kind of off topic, but, you know, that's why I kind of was making the comparison with, like, Pink Floyd. Also Rolling Stones, or, you know, other bands like that. You know, maybe their lower tier stuff for other bands isn't as, you know, cringy as some of the Beach Boys' weirder stuff like Amusement Parks USA, but you know, that shit is just boring. When the Beach Boys do something weird or cringy or kind of just bad, at least it's fun, at least it's catchy, and at least it sticks in your head. So that's one thing I'll always give. Every single one of their songs I can remember. So, off topic. So Amusement Parks USA, is it objectively a great song? No, it's weird, it's different, but the organ and it's the whole vibe of it's like very almost psychedelic, pre-psychedelic, and you know, it's catchy, sticks in my head. So probably like my second or third least favorite, or first or second least favorite on the album, honestly, but it's still a solid track that I enjoy listening to. Next is a cover of the Crystals song. So the Crystals, Phil Spector managed them, he wrote the song. It's called Then I Kissed Him, but the Beach Boys version is Then I Kissed Her, sang by Al, and I fucking love this one, just as every bit as good as the original, and I actually like it more just because I think Al's vocal is better. Man, the production is just fucking great. It's so uplifting and happy. This was like Al's third vocal, I think, third lead on a Beach Boys song, and one thing I really like is when he kind of goes into his more like rough, gritty voice. Not saying it's gritty, just more like, just kind of like an edge to it. It's kind of like, I don't even know how to explain this. It's kind of just something you have to listen to. You know, listen to Help Me Rhonda or Then I Kissed Her. You're kind of like, oh, Al has a little bit more grit to his voice. It's a little rougher. And I just really liked the way they did this song. I think it sounds fucking great. Leads into a really underrated track, not a single or anything, but it's kind of become its own like well-known track over the years. Salt Lake City. You know, it's just about going to Salt Lake City because that's a place that they would tour at, and they liked it there. I really like this one. I love the guitar at the beginning. I love the production. It just sounds really big like most of the other songs on here. And the melody and chorus is just fucking awesome. When I saw Brian and Al and Blondie last August, they played this song, which is really cool. And I really like it. So for the people that say that's a filler track, listen to it again. It's really good. I fucking love it. Leads into a very, very good song. So for me, you know, the beginning, like the first couple songs on this album and then the last couple are really good, but the whole middle part of the album, you know, there's like a row of like 6 songs that are just fucking amazing. So from Girl Don't Tell Me, which is the song I'm about to talk about right now, Girl Don't Tell Me, all the way to You're So Good to Me on side 2, just absolutely fucking perfect string of songs, which is so good. That's what's one of the reasons why I love this album so much. So anyway, Girl Don't Tell Me, sang by Carl. So this was one of his very, very first leads. He had ones before this, but in terms of just him by himself, which is actually just was him, there's no harmonies, it's just solo Carl, which was the first time it was just solo Carl, but just one of his first leads in general on a Beach Boys song, and man, I fucking love this one. This one sounds like a response to Ticket to the Ride by the Beatles. You know, people make that comparison a lot just because it's similar to that song rhythmically. You know, Ticket to Ride has kind of that same drum beat. Girl Don't Tell Me, very similar. I fucking love both songs. Ticket to Ride's probably better, but you know what? Carl's voice is great. This track is so breezy. Something about just like the guitar and the way it sounds and the way Carl sings it, just like, it's like a breeze in the wind. I don't know. Fucking love it. It's a beautiful track. I just love the chorus. It's just it's a very simple, fun song that's catchy. You know, this is one of those songs where the production isn't as like orchestrated. There's a lot of stuff going on within it, but it's not like huge, you know, which I kind of appreciate about that. Next song I was talking about earlier, Help Me Rhonda. So this is a great fucking song, also sang by Al. This is Al's most iconic lead vocal on any song. And fun fact, this was actually released as a single, also released on the Beach Boys Today, so you're like, whoa. So this was actually, when this album came out, this was like the last time the song was released on a new record. So initially, it was written for the Beach Boys Today. It was a completely different version, and they put it on that album. I really like that version. But then they recorded a version to release as a single, just to get it sounding better, you know, because on the Beach Boys Today version, there's some weird-ass fade-in, fade-outs at the end that were just kind of experimenting with stuff, but they re-recorded it, released it as a single, and guess what? Went to #1 in the country, their second #1 after I Get Around, which is fucking crazy. Very random song to get to #1. I mean, it's a great-ass song, but there's some other songs, a lot of other songs from this time period that I think deserve #1 more than Help Me Rhonda, but you know what? The stars aligned, that one went #1. I fucking love it. Al's vocal is iconic. It sounds great. The chorus is just, help me Rhonda, help me Rhonda. It's so iconic, so catchy. And, you know, it's just a very bluesy style beat, which I really like. And that ends off side one, you know, with a #1 hit, and I fucking love that song. And you know, everything from Then I Kissed Her to Help Me Rhonda so far is just fucking hits the nail on the head. Side two opens up with one of the absolute greatest Beach Boys songs, Brian's favorite Beach Boys song of all time. It's his favorite song that he's ever written ever, which is really crazy to me. It's not one of my absolute favorite Beach Boys songs, but it's definitely one of their greatest and most important. California Girls. This one was also released as a single, backed with Let 'Em Run Wild, which is also on this record. Comes actually right after it. But basically, California Girls. So, what else can I say about this one? I mean, pretty much everybody in their lives has heard this song. If you've not heard it, go listen to it. But this song, for me, for 1965, was the greatest Beach Boys song up until that point, because it just marked a change in their whole fucking thing. This song, in terms of production, is one of their absolute greatest. You know, the whole intro, the whole just orchestrated, beautiful intro, you guys know what I'm talking about, it's just so mesmerizing and different from what they were kind of doing at the time. You know, obviously they had been building up their sound to achieve something like that. And obviously, you know, with Pet Sounds, they would just go blow it out of the water. But California Girls sticks out in particular just because, you know, even when compared to Pet Sounds, California Girls still stands out. And that whole intro is just, the chords and shit that they use, oh my god, breathtaking. And, you know, Mike wrote the lyrics, Brian wrote the words. And it was also released as a single, as I said, went to #3. So to me, California Girl should have been a #1 and not Help Me Rhonda. Help Me Rhonda should have been the #3, while California Girl should have been the #1. But you know, who fucking cares? Everybody still knows these songs nowadays, so who cares how they charted back in the 60s? California Girls, man, the orchestrated intro, you know, the absolutely, you know, unforgettable verse chorus kind of thing, and then just the whole I wish they all could be California girls outro. Man, it's just talking about, you know, like, okay, even though all the girls in America are amazing, I wish they could all be in California and be California girls, so, you know, there's more of them. So that's kind of the thing. People kind of think it's like misogynistic because they're saying, oh, only California girls are good. No, it's saying that all the girls are good, but it'd just be cool that they could be in California where the Beach Boys were, because so the Beach Boys could have more girls, you know? That's all I'm saying. That's all they were saying. Masterpiece. Absolute fucking masterpiece. And followed up by the B-side to the single, Let 'Em Run Wild. Man, this song is fucking awesome. So, this one was one of the first songs, along with California Girls, that Brian wrote, you know, after he had tried pot. And this one really marks a change. You know, while California Girls has the whole production side of things and the whole, you know, sound and arrangement down in terms of their progression to Pet Sounds, the lyrics are still very simple, you know, early Beach Boys. Fun. Let 'Em Run Wild, you know, does that same thing with the production, but it takes the lyrics into a much deeper meaning, you know, kind of along the same lines of things from Beach Boys today. So, Let 'Em Run Wild is just absolutely fucking great. It starts with a very, you know, ding ding when I watched you walk with him, like a kind of unassuming intro. I don't even know what I mean by that, but like, you know, it's a softer intro, and Brian's voice is just so good on the chorus when he's like, "Let him run!" when he like fucking shrieks out his falsetto. I love that so much. He's gone in recent interviews saying that he hates his voice on this record, or on Let 'Em Run Wild, on the song specifically, which I don't fucking know why. His voice is fucking amazing, but for some reason he thinks he just doesn't sound cool at all. Which, I mean, he could say whatever he wants about himself, you know, like John Lennon would criticize the Beatles all the time, but hell no, Brian sounds fucking amazing. It's absolutely one of my favorite tracks on the record, along with California Girls, and for that single, you know, California Girls backed with Let 'Em Run Wild in 65, god damn, that's an amazing single. Right up there with, you know, Wouldn't It Be Nice, God Only Knows, I Get Around, Don't Worry, Baby, shit like that, you know, just amazing singles. And it's followed up by yet another fucking amazing song. Not a single, but one of those songs that over the years has picked up notoriety and become more popular. You're So Good to Me. This one's really cool. I love the guitar riff at the beginning, the da 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 da. One thing very interesting about this one is that it was one of the first songs in music to utilize their tongues while singing, you know, instead of being like na 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 na, they're like la 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 la. You know what I'm saying? Like Brian said this in an interview. It's very weird me saying it now, but Go listen to the song, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Just a very cool approach, and the Beatles, other artists, years after would go to emulate that kind of sound with the backing vocals on this song. So it's pretty innovative in that way, just the way they use their voices. It's just so fucking exciting. I love the verses. Brian's voice is great. His voice is so good on this record. And when I saw Mike and Bruce back in February, they played the song. Bruce sang it, actually. Did a good job. I mean, not as good as Brian, obviously, but he did a good job. But I think it's a great fucking song. So that basically ends the pure, perfect, orchestrated, pure, perfect pop of the record. Everything from Then I Kissed Her to You're So Good to Me is just like fucking perfectly beautiful. And it's one of the reasons why this record is so high. Another reason, well, not even another reason, but one of the reasons why it's not top 10 is, like Amusement Parks USA, and then I'll get to these last 3 tracks on the record, which kind of, not make the album weaker, just it's something you gotta have to talk about it. So anyway, after You're So Good to Me, gets into the last 3 tracks of the record, and they're all drastically different from each other. So, Summer Means New Love is a song entirely composed by Brian that's just an instrumental, no vocals at all, just completely just the backing track instrumental. I mean, it's not even a backing track, it's just the song itself. And this one's really cool. I really like how it sounds. I know a lot of people fucking love this one, and I really like it too. To me, it feels a little barren. I feel like it could use vocals. Not with like the melody they go with, because there already is a melody with the instruments they use within the song. But I feel like they could have come up with a different melody and used that same chord progression and backing track to create yet another fucking amazingly perfect pop song. But they didn't, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's really fun to listen to. It's catchy. It sticks in your head just because for an instrumental to have that good of a melody is really unique, and I really like it, but it doesn't come close to the actual, full songs in my opinion, just because it's only an instrumental. It's kind of like a precursor to Let's Go Away for a While and Pet Sounds on Pet Sounds, that instrumental thing. So it's really cool for that reason. And I really like it. A lot of people love it. I really like it. I could say I love it too. It's just not one of their full completed songs, Like, it's not one of the songs with vocals, because the Beach Boys were known for their vocals, and, while the Wrecking Crew did a good job on it, you're just missing the Beach Boys. So that's basically what I have to say about that one. Next comes a very fucking interesting one, which is, it's a funny song at heart. It's a funny song at the, okay, it's kind of hard to say this. At the surface, just looking at it at surface level, it's a funny song, but deep down, it's kind of fucking sad, really fucking sad. It's called I'm Bugged at My Old Man, written by Brian, and basically all it is a little piano tune with Brian, Carl, and Dennis singing it, which is really interesting because it's basically one of the only songs in their entire catalog. There's a few other ones, but it's really one of the only songs in the entire catalog where the 3 Wilson brothers are the only ones on the track, singing. I'll Bet He's Nice from Beach Boys Love You has Carl, Dennis, and Brian all singing separate leads. This one is Brian doing the lead with Carl and Dennis doing backing, but Mike, Al don't appear on it. And there's no other instruments. It's just the piano and Brian, Carl, Dennis. And this one's really fucking sad because it talks about, being, bugged at my old man, we don't like our dad right now. And, they kind of sing it funny, but when you think about it, when you think about all the trauma and torment that Murray Wilson, the Wilson brothers' dad, caused his kids, it's really fucked up because he would beat them, he would yell at them, verbally abuse them, physically abuse them, put them down for shit, terrible person, terrible father. And this song, you listen to it at the surface level and you're like, oh, it's just a funny song, but it's really not. It's, you go deep into it and you're like, they're having a funny time with it, but they really suffered at the hands of their dad, so it kind of hits somewhere. And there's actually a video, my favorite Beach Boys video of all time, from 1976, where they were on TV for some reason, and it was Brian, Carl, Dennis in 76 playing the song together for the first time in 11 years, and it's a very drastic change because in this one they're all just young guys, young adults. Carl is 18, Dennis is I think 20, and then Brian's like 23, yeah, so they're all super young guys. And you hear the version from 76, and Brian's all fucking fat, bearded, they're all bearded, but Brian's fat, his voice is fucked up. Dennis's voice is all raspy, and then I mean Carl's still great, but he's matured. So it's just a different. It's kind of sad, you know. The song is really funny, but it's also kind of sad, and it's just very interesting on this album because you have a lot of just perfectly produced pop songs, but then this like really low key piano demo sounding little funny song. So it's cool. I like listening to it. It's catchy. It is funny just listening to it, but it's kind of off-putting. You're like, whoa, this is weird. Leads into the last song on the record, an a cappella track. So instrumental, weird piano thing, a cappella. Crazy, right? And Your Dreams Come True. This one was written by Brian and Mike, but I'm actually pretty sure it's credited to Mike and then Brian. It is. Mike loved Brian Wilson. Usually it's the other way around. So I'm not sure, you know, how the writing process went, but Mike being in front makes me kind of think that did Mike write the melody and Brian just arranged it, you know, vocally? Maybe, who knows? But it's like a minute long, this a cappella track, just very similar to Their Hearts Were Full of Spring, which was a Four Freshmen song that they covered all the time. They turned it into A Young Man Is Gone on Little Deuce Coupe. It's just no instruments, it's just their voices, and this one is fucking beautiful. Like, I must say, you know, even coming after I'm Bugged at My Old Man, a very funny song, funny and sad song, this one is just pure bliss. It's absolutely beautiful. You know, You're So Sleepy, Wish That He Could Be, love him so much. I forgot the lyrics, but man, in terms of their vocal harmonies, this is another thing where I think they peaked too. Not saying that they peaked. Their vocals did not peak on this record, in my opinion. I think they peaked, you know, Smile Sessions is where I would say they peaked vocally. But in terms of that blend, the blend was so fucking good on here. And on this track, this last track, it's just, man, it's so good. So that's the record. There's, I'm pretty sure 12 songs, but, you know, the songs are pretty short. So it's a pretty short record, you know, it goes by pretty quick. If you can hear in the background, this album's already played over once. We're already on track 3 the second time, so this review has been long. I'm sorry. I've been stuttering, not being able to talk, whatever. I'm going too fucking fast. I'm sorry, but you know what? A lot of things to say about this record. I really like it. So that's Summer Days and Summer Nights, the track list. I'm kind of gonna run over it a little bit again. I think if I have to pick my favorites, Let 'Em Run Wild, California Girls, Girl Don't Tell Me, You're So Good to Me, Help Me Rhonda, Then I Kissed Her, Salt Lake City, you know, all these songs, so fucking good. So for me, the bulk of the songs I just named, that's the reason why this album's so high, because there's so many just purely perfect pop songs on here that the production, the vocal harmonies, the sound is just perfected. Absolutely perfect. But one of the reasons why it's not top 10, you know, why I kind of put it lower than I kind of thought I would, is because there's some, not complaints, but just some things that just aren't as good as the best songs in here, you know. Girl from New York City is a great fucking opener, but it's not deep at all. It's just, it's a very fun, catchy song, but it doesn't reach the emotional and oral peaks of the best songs in here. That sounds really fucking weird, I'm sorry. But, no, it's a good song. Girl from New York City is a great opener, just it doesn't reach the same heights as, like, California Girls or something. Amusement Parks USA is a cool, fun song. It's catchy, but it's kind of cringy. It's definitely not their best moment, and it's still a fun song, but it's definitely one of my least favorites, and in terms of, like, the actual full, you know, vocal production songs, where it's actually, like, a full song, it's probably my least favorite on the record, just because it's weird, and it doesn't, you know, have that same replayability and like artistic value to it. Then I Kissed Her is a great cover, as I said. And then you have the last 3 tracks. I mean, they're all fucking really cool. Summer Means New Love is a great instrumental. Bugged at My Old Man's catchy and fun and unique. And then And Your Dreams Come True is a absolutely breathtakingly beautiful a cappella track. But, you know, that's really all they are. Is they're just an instrumental, a piano fun track, and a cappella. They're not 3 complete songs. It's not like California Girls, Let 'Em Run Wild, You're So Good to Me, where those are like 3 perfect songs back to back. They're really cool and they're fun and they're good, but they're not really songs. They're kind of just their own little unique little experiments, which I really like. And they close off the record on a fun note, but not as strong as the middle part of this album. So that's Summer Days and Summer Nights. I really fucking love this record, and for me, the reason why this one tops Holland, a lot of people are gonna be like, dude, how do you have this one, you know, above Holland? Holland's so much better, whatever. You know, I respect all of your guys' opinions. It's really cool that the Beach Boys community, it's really cool that the Beach Boys have so much fucking great music that the community can choose between their favorites, and each ranking can be different than the last. But for me, Holland, I fucking love that record, and it's probably more consistent thematically and song to song, but I just, the best of this record is just so much better than Holland, because this the pop Beach Boys, you know, Holland is much more rocky, rootsy, soulful kind of thing, which is cool, but don't get me wrong, it's not really just my style. You know, I love the record, but the style of early Beach Boys are just peak Beach Boys, when they were a pop band, when they were on top of the world and they were writing huge productions of amazing melodically written songs. That's their peak for me, and that's my favorite period of them. And this album represents a lot of that, you know, vocally, production-wise, not lyrically. Some of the songs lyrically, but not mostly lyrically. But just the songs themselves are just so fucking good. And one of the things is also just the vibe of it. You know, I live in California. I live in Southern California. I am not far. Well, I'm, you know, like an hour or two away from where the Beach Boys lived in Hawthorne when they started, you know, so I'm not like super close to them. But, you know, I'm not at all far away from where they came from. So I can relate to what they're talking about, you know, all these, you know, the feelings and the sounds and, you know, the whole California dream they kind of put in their songs. I can relate to that because I live here and I go to the beach and I, you know, live in the summer all the time. And pretty much most of you guys watching this can, so you guys can relate with it. And, you know, the album cover and the lyrics, you know, they aren't as deep as the Beach Boys today. One of the reasons why this album isn't as high as that one, also because that one's just fucking amazing. But, you know, even though the lyrics, yes, they are, you know, not as deep, you know, some of them aren't deep at all, but they're just so fucking fun, and they fit the songs perfectly well, and the songs feel like summer, and so do the lyrics, and they match up really well. And my favorite part of the album is just the whole middle stretch of songs. Then I Kissed Her, Salt Lake City, Girl Don't Tell Me, Help Me Rhonda, California Girls, Let 'Em Run Wild, You're So Good to Me. That's so many fucking songs in a row that are all fucking perfect, and I love them. And then the first two and last three are really cool, really good, besides Amusement Parks USA, but they're still interesting, and they still fit that theme, you know, they still have the summer vibe. Even I'm Bugged at My Old Man could kind of fit that summer theme with the guys' voices being so young, you know? So that's really about it. I'm sorry if I was stuttering and shit during this review. I'm talking very fast. But Summer Days, Summer Nights released June 5th, 1965. Great fucking record. It's my number 11 on the ranking out of 30, and next video we will get to number 10. So that's the countdown, top 10. So it's been really fun doing all of these, not lesser known ones, but a lot of people when they do Beach Boys album rankings or when they talk about the Beach Boys, it's usually like top 10 albums, top 5 albums, or they just talk about Pet Sounds or Smile or something, which makes sense. But, you know, it's really cool that I was able to talk about all the underlooked ones and all the ones that kind of have been forgotten and just the ones that aren't as good, you know? So I think it's cool to, you know, take a look into their whole back catalog. But from the next video, well, pretty much from like Surfer Girl. So basically, we've already gotten to the great stuff, but like once we get top 10, every record is just absolutely amazing, and they're all so different and so cool. So I'll get to that. I'll explain everything. I'll get to why my ranking is that way. There's some placements that might be controversial because, you know, Holland for a lot of people, as I said, is a lot higher than where I put it. But you know what? We're all fans of the same band. We can all respect each other's opinions. And for this one, number 11, if I'd get a ranking out of 10, probably like a 9.5. The bulk of this album is a fucking masterpiece. There's some songs that fall short compared to the best ones, but they're still good. And they still sound all great. And overall, yeah, you know, the guys do a great job. Brian's voice is all over this record. It sounds fucking amazing. Carl on Girl Don't Tell Me is great. Mike's voice is great. Al on his 2 songs is great. Dennis doesn't sing any leads, surprisingly. Also, fun, 2 things I forgot to mention that are very big important things that I somehow didn't mention. This was the first album that Bruce Johnston appeared on. You know, after Brian quit touring, they recruited him and he replaced Brian on the road, and this was the first one where he sang on a studio album. So that's a fun fact. So Bruce, this is the album that introduced him to the band, and even though he wasn't on the album cover because of contractual reasons, he was in the band at this point. So that's something I gotta get out of the way. Also, there was an outtake from this album called Sherry She Needs Me that was written for this album. The backing track was finished, but it was they never recorded vocals for it in the 60s. And it's a great fucking song, and they were actually, in 1976, they did vocals for it with, you know, gruff voice Brian. And, you know, they have a version on Made in California, the box set that came out in like 2013, I think, with the original track with the 76 vocal. Great fucking song. Brian eventually redid it on one of his solo albums, you know, like 30 years later. But that's a really cool song. Wish it could have been on this album, but it wasn't. But overall, I've been talking for a long time. So the TLDR, the be-all end-all of Summer Days, Summer Nights, it's a classic fucking record that represents the Beach Boys at a peak in their career. Peak of popularity, peak of their whole collective early sound, and basically it marked the last point of that early era before they would just get into different things, you know. This was the last full new studio album. This was the last album of completely new material until Pet Sounds, and then after that it was just never the same, you know. So, you know, that's basically about it. Summer Days, Summer Nights, June 5th, 1965, 9.5 out of 10, number 11 on my album ranking out of 30. And next video, as I said, we'll get to number 10, all the way down to the number 1. You guys should probably know what my number 1, number 2 is, but we'll get to that in the next few videos. So, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of you who comment on my videos and just keep watching this. So, if you've made it this far, thank you, and let me know what you think about this album in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace out.